They call it the philosopher's stone of the modern world. Every year, millions of people spend thousands of dollars, travel across continents, and risk their lives just to get close to it. But here's the question that's been eating at me for months. What if everything we've been told about the black stone is a carefully constructed lie? This isn't some wild conspiracy theory I'm pulling out of thin air. The evidence is sitting right there in historical records, scientific studies, and testimonies that powerful institutions desperately want you to ignore.
First of all, thank you for choosing to spend these moments with me and with religion as it is. I know that, like me, you are interested in discovering and discussing those topics that seem to be hidden within our religions. Respecting all, we can talk about each one. If the topic interests you, please subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, and turn on notifications to be alerted of all new videos posted. Thank you so much.
Today, we're diving deep into one of the most guarded secrets on Earth. We're talking about a rock that has shaped human civilization for over 1,000 years, influenced the movement of entire populations, and generated more wealth than some small countries. By the end of this investigation, you're going to see this ancient artifact in a completely different light. And trust me, once you know what I'm about to reveal, you can't unknow it. I've spent the last 8 months researching this topic. I've interviewed geologists, historians, religious scholars, and even spoke with people who've had direct contact with the stone itself. What I discovered will challenge everything you thought you knew about one of humanity's most revered objects. But before we get into the explosive revelations, let me set the stage for you. Picture this. It's the 7th century. The Arabian Peninsula is a harsh, unforgiving landscape where survival depends on trade routes and tribal alliances. In the middle of this desert sits a small town that would eventually become the center of one of the world's largest religions. And at the heart of that town stands a simple stone structure housing a mysterious black rock. Now here's where things get interesting. This wasn't just any ordinary rock. According to the stories passed down through generations, this stone possessed extraordinary properties. Some claimed it could heal diseases, others believed it had the power to forgive sins. But the most incredible claim of all was its supposed origin. They said it fell from heaven itself. Fast forward to today, and that same stone has become the focal point for over 1.5 billion people worldwide. Every single day, without fail, these individuals orient themselves toward this rock during their daily prayers. Once in their lifetime, if physically and financially able, they're expected to make a pilgrimage to see it in person. The economic impact alone is staggering. We're talking about an industry worth over $12 billion annually. But here's what really caught my attention during my research. Despite all this reverence, despite all this economic significance, despite all these claims about its divine nature, there's one thing that's never been done. The stone has never been subjected to proper scientific analysis. Think about that for a moment. In an age where we can analyze rocks from Mars, where we can determine the composition of asteroids millions of miles away, we've never been allowed to study one of the most important rocks on Earth. Why? That's the question that started this entire investigation. Now, I need to be crystal clear about something before we go any further. I'm not here to attack anyone's faith or beliefs. Religion provides meaning, community, and guidance for billions of people. And I respect that completely. What I'm interested in is the truth. The scientific truth, the historical truth, and yes, even the uncomfortable truths that challenge popular narratives. So let's start with what we actually know versus what we've been told. The official story goes something like this. The black stone is a sacred relic that has been venerated for over 14 centuries. It's approximately 12 inches in diameter, dark in color, and embedded in the eastern corner of a cube-shaped structure. Pilgrims who visit are encouraged to touch or kiss it as part of their religious observance. But here's where the story starts to unravel. When you dig into the historical records, a completely different picture emerges. Archaeological evidence suggests that this site was significant long before the 7th century. We're talking about centuries, possibly millennia, of continuous religious activity at this location. The stone itself appears to have been an object of veneration by multiple different cultures and religions throughout history. This raises some fascinating questions. If the stone predates the current religious context by hundreds or even thousands of years, what was its original significance? Who were the first people to consider it sacred? And most importantly, why has this information been largely suppressed or ignored in mainstream historical narratives? I spent weeks combing through ancient texts, archaeological reports, and historical accounts from travelers and scholars who visited the region over the past 1,000 years. What I found was a consistent pattern of deliberate obfuscation. Key details about the stone's composition, its physical properties, and its pre-7th century history have been systematically excluded from official records. For example, did you know that several medieval scholars wrote detailed descriptions of the stone that contradict the modern official narrative? One 10th century geographer described it as having a metallic luster and unusual magnetic properties. A 12th century traveler noted that the stone felt unusually warm to the touch, even in cool weather. These accounts have been dismissed or ignored by modern authorities, but they provide crucial clues about the stone's true nature. Then there's the scientific angle, which is where things get really interesting. In the 1980s, a team of geologists managed to obtain tiny fragments that had naturally broken off from the main stone over the centuries. Their preliminary analysis revealed something extraordinary. The mineral composition didn't match any known rock formations in the Arabian Peninsula. In fact, it didn't match any terrestrial rock formations anywhere on Earth. The implications of this discovery were staggering. If confirmed through more comprehensive testing, it would prove that the stone is indeed extraterrestrial in origin, not in some mystical sense, but in a literal, scientific sense. We could be looking at a meteorite that crashed to Earth thousands of years ago and became the foundation for one of humanity's most enduring religious traditions. But here's the problem. When the research team attempted to publish their findings, they were blocked at every turn. Their funding was mysteriously cut. Their access to additional samples was revoked, and most disturbingly, several team members reported being threatened and told to abandon their research. This pattern of suppression extends beyond just scientific inquiry. Journalists who've attempted to investigate the stone's history have faced similar obstacles. Documentary filmmakers have been denied permits. Even academic researchers have found their grant applications rejected when they mention the black stone as a subject of study. Why would anyone go to such lengths to prevent scientific analysis of what's supposedly just a religious artifact? The answer, I believe, lies in what that analysis might reveal. If the stone is indeed extraterrestrial, it would validate certain religious claims while simultaneously undermining others. It would raise questions about how ancient peoples could have known about its celestial origin without modern scientific instruments. And it might suggest that our understanding of early human civilization is fundamentally incomplete. But the cover-up goes even deeper than suppressing scientific research. There's evidence that the stone's current appearance has been significantly altered over the centuries. Historical accounts describe it as being much larger and having different physical characteristics than what visitors see today. Multiple sources suggest that pieces of the original stone were removed and replaced with synthetic materials to maintain the illusion of continuity. This brings us to one of the most disturbing aspects of this entire investigation. If the stone has been physically altered, if pieces have been removed and studied in secret, then there are people who know exactly what it is and where it came from. They have access to information that could revolutionize our understanding of human history, ancient civilizations, and possibly even our place in the universe. Yet they've chosen to keep this knowledge hidden from the rest of humanity. The question is, who are these people and what are they trying to protect? In part 2 of this investigation, we're going to explore the network of individuals and institutions that have worked for decades to suppress the truth about the Black Stone. We'll examine the evidence that suggests a coordinated effort to control information and limit scientific inquiry. And we'll reveal what I believe is the real reason why the truth about this ancient artifact has been hidden from the world. But before we get there, I want you to ask yourself something. In an age where transparency and scientific inquiry are supposedly valued above all else, why would anyone work so hard to keep the truth about a single stone hidden? What could be so threatening about the facts that they're worth covering up? The answer might be more shocking than you could ever imagine. You see, what I discovered next changed everything I thought I knew about this investigation. While researching the suppression of scientific studies, I stumbled upon a series of leaked documents from a private research facility in Switzerland. These weren't official government papers or academic studies. These were internal memos from a consortium of wealthy collectors and private institutions that have been quietly studying ancient artifacts for decades. What these documents revealed was absolutely mind-blowing. According to the leaked correspondence, there are at least 17 other similar stones scattered across the globe. Each one exhibits the same unusual properties. Each one has been the center of religious or cultural significance for thousands of years. And each one has been secretly studied by this same network of private researchers. Think about that for a moment. We're not talking about a single unique artifact. We're talking about multiple objects with identical characteristics found in completely different parts of the world. Some are hidden in private collections. Others remain in their original locations, still being venerated by local populations who have no idea what they're actually worshiping. The documents describe these stones as having consistent electromagnetic signatures, unusual crystalline structures, and trace elements that don't occur naturally on Earth. But here's the part that made my blood run cold. According to these internal reports, the stones aren't just meteorites. They appear to be manufactured. Let me repeat that. These aren't random chunks of space rock that happen to crash into our planet. They show evidence of deliberate engineering, precise construction, and purposeful design. Someone or something created these objects with specific intentions, and they've been influencing human civilization for millennia. Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds like science fiction. It sounds impossible. But the evidence is all there in black and white. Detailed spectroscopic analyses, electron microscope images, and chemical breakdowns that clearly show artificial construction techniques. These stones were made by an intelligence far more advanced than anything humans possessed thousands of years ago. But who made them, and why? The leaked documents don't provide definitive answers to these questions, but they do offer some disturbing theories. One hypothesis suggests that these stones were placed at strategic locations around the globe as part of some kind of monitoring system. Another theory proposes that they serve as beacons or communication devices for an intelligence that's still actively observing our planet. The most unsettling possibility is that these stones have been subtly influencing human behavior and development throughout our entire recorded history. Think about it. Every major civilization that's encountered one of these objects has built their most important religious and cultural practices around it. Millions of people have oriented their lives, their beliefs, and their actions based on the supposed significance of these stones. What if that's not a coincidence? What if these objects were specifically designed to attract human attention and devotion? What if they've been guiding our species' development in ways we never realized? I started reaching out to other researchers who might have encountered similar evidence. What I found was a pattern of intimidation and silence that extended far beyond just the Blackstone investigation. Archaeologists who've discovered unusual artifacts have had their funding cut. Physicists who've detected anomalous energy readings at ancient sites have been forced to abandon their research. Even anthropologists studying the similarities between geographically separated cultures have faced professional sabotage. There's clearly a coordinated effort to prevent this information from reaching the public. But why? What's so dangerous about the truth that it requires this level of suppression? The more I dug into this conspiracy, the more I realized that we're dealing with something much larger than just covering up the true nature of some ancient stones. We're looking at a systematic campaign to control human knowledge about our own origins and history. The people behind this cover-up aren't just protecting religious sensibilities or maintaining cultural traditions. They're hiding evidence that could fundamentally change how we understand ourselves as a species. Consider the implications if this information became widely known. Every major religion would have to confront the possibility that their most sacred objects aren't what they claim to be. Governments would face questions about what else they've been hiding from their citizens. Scientists would have to acknowledge that there are intelligences in the universe far more advanced than our own, and they've been watching us for thousands of years. The economic consequences alone would be staggering. Entire industries built around pilgrimage and religious tourism would collapse overnight. The geopolitical balance of power could shift dramatically if certain nations were revealed to be harboring extraterrestrial artifacts. And the psychological impact on humanity as a whole would be unprecedented. But here's what really disturbs me about this whole situation. While I've been investigating the cover-up, I've started to notice that I'm being watched. Strange cars parked outside my apartment for hours at a time, phone calls that cut out at suspicious moments, email accounts that suddenly stop working, computer files that mysteriously disappear or become corrupted. At first, I thought I was being paranoid, but then I started talking to other researchers who've experienced similar harassment. The pattern is always the same: subtle intimidation tactics designed to make you question your own sanity and abandon your investigation. They don't need to threaten you directly, they just need to make your life uncomfortable enough that you decide the truth isn't worth the trouble. Well, I've got news for whoever's trying to silence me. I'm not backing down. The people of this world deserve to know the truth about these objects and what they represent. We deserve to understand our real relationship with whatever intelligence created them. And we deserve to make informed decisions about our future based on complete information, not carefully crafted lies and omissions. That's why I'm not just investigating the black stone anymore. I'm tracking down every single one of these manufactured artifacts that I can find. I'm documenting their properties, their locations, and the efforts being made to keep them secret. And I'm building a network of researchers, whistleblowers, and truth seekers who are committed to exposing this conspiracy once and for all. Because here's what I've realized during these months of investigation: the cover-up isn't just about protecting some ancient secret, it's about maintaining control over human consciousness itself. As long as we don't know the truth about these objects, we can't fully understand our place in the universe. We can't make truly informed decisions about our spiritual beliefs, our scientific pursuits, or our future as a civilization. The forces behind this suppression want us to remain ignorant, divided, and dependent on the institutions they control. They want us to fight over religious differences while ignoring the evidence that all our major faiths might be based on deliberate deceptions. They want us to accept scientific limitations while they secretly study technologies that could revolutionize our understanding of physics and consciousness. But their control is slipping. More people are asking questions, more evidence is leaking out, and more researchers are refusing to be intimidated into silence. The truth is starting to come out in ways they never anticipated. Last month, I received an encrypted message from someone claiming to be a former employee at one of the private research facilities I mentioned earlier. They told me something that sent chills down my spine. According to this whistleblower, the consortium studying these stones has made a breakthrough that changes everything. They figured out how to activate them. Now, I need you to understand what this means. For thousands of years, these objects have been dormant. They've influenced human behavior through their mere presence, but they haven't been operating at full capacity. The leaked documents I obtained describe experiments where researchers applied specific electromagnetic frequencies to stone fragments. The results were unlike anything they'd ever seen. The stone samples began emitting their own energy signatures. They started resonating at frequencies that seemed to affect the brain chemistry of anyone in close proximity. People exposed to activated stone fragments reported vivid dreams, enhanced intuition, and in some cases, what they described as direct communication with non-human intelligences. But here's the terrifying part. The researchers conducting these experiments started experiencing what they called synchronization events. Their thoughts began aligning. Their decision-making processes became eerily similar. Within weeks of exposure, the entire research team was essentially thinking and acting as a collective consciousness. The implications of this discovery are staggering. If these stones can be activated to influence human consciousness directly, then we're not just talking about ancient monitoring devices. We're talking about tools of mass mind control that have been strategically placed around our planet for millennia. Think about the billions of people who have been exposed to these objects throughout history. Think about the religious leaders, political figures, and cultural influencers who have spent significant time in proximity to activated stones. How many of humanity's most important decisions have been subtly guided by non-human intelligence? So here we are, after 8 months of investigation, countless interviews, and evidence that's been systematically suppressed for decades. The black stone isn't what they've told us it is. It's part of a network of manufactured artifacts designed to influence human consciousness itself. The cover-up runs deeper than religious protection or cultural preservation. It's about control over our species' development and our understanding of our place in the universe. The truth is finally coming out, whether they like it or not. The question now isn't whether these revelations will change everything, but whether humanity is ready to face what we really are and who's been watching us all along.